Alright. What's up, my friends? How's it going? I took my camera and moved it to the other side because I've been changing around all my desks and everything. I used to make them over here facing this direction, and then for a while I had my desk over here and I was facing there. Now I have like an L-shaped type desk, so I figured this is probably the best spot to do it. Of course, it's got all my crap in the background, but hey, who cares, right? You know, it's funny, when I first started, I had so much junk in the background because I'd make videos in random places, and then after a while I was like, you know, I should start making, you know, better backgrounds, or at least something decent. And I stopped and I asked myself, why? And why do I care? And then I thought, well, you know, it is more pleasing, you know, than seeing stuff in the background to have like a decent backdrop. And then I thought, you know, I'm not here to please. Of course, I love discussing things with people, but I want it to be to the subject, you know. And a couple people have come in over the years and they're like, oh man, you should have a better backdrop. And I'll think, should I? Or should you be maybe commenting to the point of the video and maybe something that we can all relate to, you know. But I meet a lot of people who are in the same mindset as me, but of course we have all a variety of different mindsets too. So it's not like everyone who agrees with me on one subject agrees with me on another. I'm not here to be agreed with, I'm here to discuss. And that's why I love to debate and argue too. You know, I don't like an echo chamber where everybody's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what got me thinking about how people, I should say the worthiness, you know, the worthiness of being worthy. A lot of people would be in total denial that they're seeking approval, but I won't. Now, I'm not saying I'm here to seek approval, but I'm saying that in life I've found that we all seek approval, and we all love being commended on things that either we've learned or done, whether it be helping people, which is often the reason people will get addicted almost to doing things that are like charity. What a great thing to get addicted to in my eyes, but it is kind of that drive that keeps you going, is the approval and people saying thank you. Altruism is wonderful. Doing things for the sake of just doing them and not expecting any recognition for it. People do that all the time. But also, what leads people to do things like that often is knowing how people feel about others who have done that. The hero, playing the hero. It's something that we've been ingrained to do. But, not all of us, but it is an interesting, you know, idea, altruism. But I'm not really here to talk about that. I wanted to stick to the worthiness thing. You know, I have a pretty good outlook on who I am in life. I know that I'm still learning who I am, and that every year I develop a whole new outlook on what I used to think, and wow, you know, okay, maybe it's a little different than I thought, and I'm willing to change with the times. But it's not always like that for people. Some people are so stuck in their ways that I grow apart from people. So I may be in one phase in my life and I agree with what people are into. Maybe particular friends, like when I was in my conspiracy phase or something, to be able to bounce ideas off and then all of a sudden lose interest in that and then realize I have other hobbies, other ideas, other theories, or that what I used to think was true just maybe isn't. Or maybe it's just not as important. So a song came to mind. It's a song from a band called Papadosio. It's a newer song. But there's one line in one of the songs where it says, I want to be worthy, it's unnerving. And even though he doesn't go on to describe what he's talking about, I totally understand by the emphasis that's made on the part of the song and where it's at and how the song is laid out, that he's alluding to the idea that it's unnerving to have to seek approval. We don't want to. We just want to be individuals and say, screw everybody else. I don't care what they think. But that's complete bullshit. And I'm not going to say that there aren't people out there who don't care. There is a way to get yourself to the point where all that matters is your opinion and nobody else's. But that's a horrible way to be, because instantly you're shutting yourself down to any potential constructive criticism. All of us can look back on shit we've done in our lives and realize we messed up. You know, one stupid mistake or something we said, or maybe even being mean to somebody when we didn't need to, or being judgmental, or just not being as well researched as we would have liked to be. And instead of admitting that, okay, well, yeah, I was at fault, oh well, growing from it, some people are just determined to stick to their guns and to find others who will continue to support their claims. The interesting thing about this I've found that if you're open to many different ideas, many different theories, then you can get along with just about anybody. But the minute that someone challenges a person's beliefs or a person's ideas, and they're not willing to say, oh well, that's just how I feel, and if they have to stand by what they believe. Now this, an example, I don't want to use the example, but it's the one that popped into my head, is very hardcore Christians. I'm not saying all Christians. I'm just saying a lot of the ones I've talked to over the years are very black and white about how they feel. We'll have discussions for, several videos as I get to know them. They might be like, oh yeah, I like your videos, and we'll get to talking in the comments section. And then all of a sudden one will pop up about how I should take Jesus into my heart, and that they just want to see me saved and just help me. And in the old days, I would have just said, I don't need your stupid Jesus, fuck your God. I was a little bit hardcore when I was younger because I'd been pressured by religious groups. I didn't know much about Christianity. I went to Bible camp with a friend. We were supposed to go snowboarding, but the weather was bad, so we ended up staying inside reading the Bible the whole time. And the dude who ran it was a jerk. And every church event I went to with like pastors or any Sunday schools, they were always, with a friend or something, there was always a bunch of douchebags there, and it turned me off from that. So anyway, I ignored it for a long time, and then when it came back around, it was a guy on the street corner with a sign telling me I was going to hell for the clothes I was wearing. So that was when I had this relationship where I was just like, religion is the scourge of the earth, it needs to be removed. Over the years, I had to reanalyze how I felt about religion and say, who am I to tell a billion people that what they believe shouldn't be true, even though I know that it's rooted in just what they've been told, that you could take God as anything you want, you can create any type of reality you want for what God is or how to define it or not, but there's no way to prove it or disprove it. God and religion, it's one of those things that you can't prove or disprove, and so it's not even worth arguing about. So I learned to discuss rationally with people, and here's what I found. A lot of Christians are very accepting, and they'll say, oh, I respect that, but, this is what I found is useful for me. And then there are the ones that I was talking about who will chat for a while over time, and then when they bring up the Jesus thing, and I say, no, thank you, and I respectably say, I've looked into religion and it's just not for me, they will poke and prod, and they will try to belittle me and make me think, oh, well, you just haven't looked enough, or you just haven't asked Jesus into your heart. And it'll go into this thing where I'll say, I appreciate it, but thank you anyway. And the next thing I know, they're telling me that I'm a total asshole, douchebag, selfish, and I'm going to hell, and that, I'll burn. This has happened several times. And it's not just religion. I'm saying that that's my example. A person may come in and start talking about a conspiracy they believe, and I'll say, well, I've looked into the flat earth, but thank you, I'm not interested. I believe the earth is a sphere. And then they'll pry and pry and pry and say, well, you're not looking at the right information. And then next thing you know, I'm a sheeple, an idiot, a follower. And what I've learned is that it's easier to just to outright, to be respectful and respectfully disagree. But the point I'm getting at is that when people are that hardcore about things to where they will actually use ad hominem attacks, personal attacks are something that I try myself not to do. I don't go to a person's webpage or something or find out about their private life so I can try to say, aha, you're like this, because fallacies and ad hominem attacks are just weak-minded behavior. But what I'm getting at here is that the reason why people act this way is because they feel unworthy. And the more that we push on people who feel unworthy, the more unworthy they will feel. A lot of people feel disillusioned by the current world that we live in. I'm not going to go political on this, I promise. It's just that people want to follow somebody who will show them the way, and there are a lot of people who want somebody to follow. And then there are other people who consider themselves leaders and don't want to follow anyone. And so many different groups of people and different types of behaviors, and it's difficult to get along with people and have rational discussions where everyone agrees. And the whole idea is not to agree, but rather to share and hope that we all grow, right? So the music's a little loud, but I like it. If I were to turn it down, it would probably mess up the volume knob and crank up. There's something wrong with it, but this is our old band, my brother and I, with our friend Sam. I think it was Sam or Duncan. We had two different drummers over the years, but we released a couple different albums. And I guess this would be a perfect example. When we made this album, you know, we did it on GarageBand, which is a program on the Apple, on the Mac. My brother had one, and it allowed us to put our instruments in there, basically like an 8-track. Back in the day, we wanted to record music. We couldn't afford a 4-track tape recorder for $100 or $200, you know, or much more. But I mean, even then we were broke, and now they've got all these crazy digital devices that you can. I was going to buy this little Tascam 4-track that's like $100, and it allows you to record all your instruments and overtrack and dub, and you know, right there in the room without even a microphone. But anyway, technology allowed us to record these things and adjust and edit and shift things around to make an album in a reasonable amount of time. When we were making this stuff, every time my brother would say, "Oh, I love your bass," you know, it would prop me up. It would give me a boost. It was being worthy and feeling worthy, because I'm not a bassist that went and took lessons. I'm the guy who picked up a bass and just started playing and said, "This is what I have, my style." I tried to take lessons and it wasn't for me. And my brother says he really loves it because I'm not structured in that way, because I don't, you know, sometimes the best art, let's say, is from somebody who has never painted before. It just, as a fluke, they do their own thing and play their own way, and that's what I try to do. But all of us getting that praise from people who liked our music is a feedback mechanism which allowed us to want to make more music. If we'd gone out there and made our first album and played shows and none of our friends wanted to come and nobody liked us, then we probably would have just stopped. And I think that we could use that as a metaphor for everything we do. Like, if something you're doing isn't gaining enough approval, then we often lose interest in it. And often it doesn't have to be approval from other people all the time. Sometimes it can just be approval from ourselves. But if we're doing something we consider very productive, and everyone around us says that's just useless, I think that's going to turn people off from wanting to finish what they're doing. So, once again, be kind to people. Be kind to each other. If you find somebody that's really resistant to change and is very set in their ways, calling them an idiot or a sheep or a fool only serves to strengthen their resolve in the way that they feel about themselves. And which means that on the outside, they put up a bigger ego, and inside, it drops them down a peg. I feel like some people are so pumped up because they're so broken down, because they truly don't like themselves deep down inside, because they feel like there's something missing and that they want to be a complete person, but that nobody's giving them the credit or the time. Many people grew up with parents who were scolding and harsh. Many people had bosses who were mean and cruel and hateful, and teachers. And the only teachers I remember were the ones that said, "Hey, you do really good on your tests, why don't you ever do your homework?" Because I basically failed every math class because I wouldn't do homework. But I could do the tests. I knew my English, my reading, all that. So it was frustrating to them, but that, even though I didn't ever, I ended up going through my senior year, and I was like 3 credits shy to graduate, and I was stubborn. I was like, screw it. I don't need their paper. I'll do my own thing. I'm going to work for myself anyway. And, but having that little bit of, hey, you're really good at what you do, except for you don't do your homework, all I heard was you're good at tests. And that was enough to prop me up, just like with the music, just like with the art and things I've done. Even if I don't respect them or like them myself, when other people like them, it gives me more self-esteem. And because I have a low self-esteem sometimes too, just like everybody else. Sometimes I'll make something and say, that's not very good. I don't like that. Or, man, I could do better. I beat myself up over just living. Things that waking up each day and having a go-get-em attitude to get some shit done this day, and then don't do it. I could sit in here all day and make videos and pretend like I'm doing something productive, right? I don't, of course. And that's the reason why I don't edit my videos. I make them when I'm at I'm at the peak of a thought. Like, I gotta make a video. And then I don't edit or mess with it, because sometimes that'll take, like, a person can make a 10-minute video and edit it for hours and hours, if not days. So I just don't have the time for that. I'd rather spend 20 minutes just talking. Think of it as my journal. But I'm also trying to help other people to understand that there are others who think alike. And there are very few people I meet in today's world that think like I do. And I don't mean the way I do. Everybody thinks individually, but they share the same values while at the same time is open. Like, I'm very accepting and tolerant and understanding of people, but I don't take shit from people in the same regards, you know what I mean? It's about a balance. It's not about being super ultra spiritual and being above everyone else, but it's not like being a conniving, trolling asshole either, where you have to beat everybody up to make yourself feel better. And I think as long as you're not fitting one of the extremes and you remain balanced, then you're between the crest and the trough and the wave. And when you're at that point, everything's just fine. We all hit a low point, and all we can go is up from there. We've all had low points. I actually woke up today thinking, I was like, it's going to be one of those good days. You know, some days you just wake up and you're just ready to go. And other days you just, like yesterday, I had kind of a little bit of phlegm. I could tell that my body was fighting off just the slightest virus or maybe a cold, you know. Comes old man winter. And I fought it a little bit for like an hour, and it just kind of went away. I never really felt sick, but it was enough to kind of like make me appreciate today that much more. It's like whenever I'm sick, all I can think of is that I'm going to get better. But keeping that positive attitude means you keep a positive self-esteem. It means that you know that you are worthy. I don't even like saying that because it sounds so damn cheesy. You are worthy. You are a creator. You are a great person. You can do it. You know, that kind of like... I totally respect that type of... What do they call those people? Not coaches, but inspirational speakers, I guess, isn't that what it is? Inspirational speakers, they have a lot to say, and a lot of people can really gain from it, but for myself, I'm like, yeah, and then what? You know, you think positive, but you end up getting to the point where you have to go to a different cycle of life. Like, you've learned how to think positive and try to live in a good light, and you have good values. You don't steal, you don't cheat, you don't lie, and you realize you don't need stuff. But then you go through another phase where you're like, okay, I don't need stuff, but maybe I want to do this with my life. And you're ever changing. So as long as you're open to change, then you'll live a very happy, healthy life, and you'll never feel like an old man. I mean, I'm 40. Last year I turned 40, and I'm like, I don't feel 40. I still feel like my kid's age. He's like 21, you know. But I've gained so much understanding and maturity in that time, in my mind, at least, you know, for what it's worth, that it's helping me to live, not just live happier. I think that's one of the misnomers. It's not a matter of being happier. It's a matter of living better, which means that you're aware. It means that you're paying attention to what's going on around you. It means that you're reflecting on each day at the end of the day. It means that in the morning you wake up and you're making goals and trying to set forth something for yourself. And most of all, more than anything, the knowing yourself especially, but on top of that, knowing other people and understanding other people, that you can't escape other people. And if others judge you and you don't feel like you're getting the approval that you need, and therefore you escape from them, it won't serve you. It will only cause more problems. But if you live on praise, and that's the only thing that makes you happy, then you're never going to go anywhere either. Because you'll constantly be attached to people's responses to you or people's approval of you. If you have doting parents, for example, that gave you everything and told you were the greatest, that could be damaging when you get into the real world and everybody's like, it's not so great. And likewise, a parent could be so crude and harsh to their kid that they never want to even think that they can do anything for themselves. So it's a tough one for parents and children. And with that, I bid you farewell, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm going to go pretend to get